right, welcome everyone. My name is Martin. I'm CEO and founder of USPD and Morpher, two Ethereum-based crypto startups. And I want to talk today about the stablecoin landscape with a special focus on Ethereum and stablecoins on Ethereum. Stablecoins have become arguably crypto's killer use case in a sense that they are used also by regular people, so by people who are not as we are at crypto degens and do anything on-chain, but by regular people. And we can see here the transactional volume of stablecoins over time and compared to Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. And you can see a steep rise, especially in 2024, where the volume of transactions with stablecoins already has overtaken the volume of transactions that Visa settles per year. And we can expect, the 2025 numbers are not in yet, but we can expect this to even grow further in 2025. But what are stablecoins used for primarily? And there has been a survey that was actually conducted among 2,500 people from emerging market economies such as Nigeria, Indonesia, Turkey, Brazil, and India. And they were asked, what do you personally use stablecoins for? And of course, the bulk of them is also present on chain already, so 50% of them also use it for crypto trading and other things like that. But there is another use case for people in emerging markets, and that is saving money in dollars. Because typically, people in emerging market countries have national currencies that don't work that well. They are very inflationary. And they also send money back and forth, back home, and so on, so also for remittances. And also, interestingly, the second point from the bottom is self-custody of my money. So this is also an issue that people can easily be debanked, deplatformed in emerging markets. So there's real-world use to stablecoins. Stablecoins are fast-growing, and forgive me if the number is in the meantime not correct anymore. This was taken last week, where the market cap was $302 billion in total value locked in stablecoins across all blockchains. And the bulk of it is still on Ethereum, because Ethereum is objectively the most decentralized, secure blockchain out there, so it's the ideal settlement layer for censorship-resistant stablecoins. But maybe surprisingly for some, including myself, the second runner-up is Tron, with $90 billion of stablecoins on their blockchain, on their network, predominantly in Tether. And then we have Solana, of course, and Base with 28 and, Binance Smart Chain, sorry, with 18 billion. And then we have Base with 12 billion already. And the rest is distributed among other protocols, among other blockchains. So give or take, Ethereum is still the foundational layer for most of the stablecoins, but Tron's position is surprising. How are they distributed across the individual stablecoins? And you can see the market is quite concentrated. So the largest stablecoin by far is Tether. I believe everyone in the room knows that and has probably already used Tether once. But Tether is centralized, and we will get to the details of each of the stablecoins in a bit. The same is true for Circle's USDC. Circle is the smaller brother, the little brother of Tether. They are also centralized. It's issued by a company, by Circle in the US. And they have like 74 billion in AUM. Then the third one, this is an interesting one, this is Ethena. This is a pretty new project, and I will get into more details on that as well. That is also a custodial stablecoin, but it's a crypto-native stablecoin. And then we have the biggest DeFi stablecoin, the OG of DeFi stablecoins, that's MakerDAO's DAI, which is decentralized to some extent. And then we have a bulk of other stablecoins. So at the moment, stablecoins are like really hot, and a lot of new protocols and projects are being formed and launched every day. But you can see that the industry is still in the hands of Tether. All right, it is worth to take a closer look at the big four, like Tether, Circle, Ethena, and DAI, and see what they have in common and what separates them, and what's the good and the bad and the ugly about each of them. So let's start with Tether. Tether is the biggest stablecoin, and what we can see here is that typically their 24-hour volume equals their market capitalization. So it's insane how much Tether is being used and sent around. And again, this goes a lot to Tether on Tron, where it is like used for everyday transactions as well. It is the longest surviving stablecoin and the largest stablecoin in circulation. You can also see it had its hiccups in the past, but by and large, it was able to maintain its peg to $1, pretty decent. And it was also able to honor all redemption requests, so Tether works. But how does it work? Well, it's actually pretty easy. You send these three gentlemen some money in the banking system, and these three gentlemen then mint the Tether token out of thin air. No, not really, but with the money that you sent them. And they send you an ERC20 token, the Tether token on the blockchain. And what they do in return is, if they are honest, and we can assume that they are, if they are honest, they're buying bonds and treasury notes with that money. And these bonds generate interest. And that interest is Tether's income. And that's roughly like between 3 and 5%, let's call it 5% for sake of simplicity, that they make with the $100 that you send them in the banking system for minting 100 Tether. All right, this whole process is unfortunately centralized, and it is also pretty opaque. Tether, to this very day, has not performed a single individual and independent audit. Yeah? So nobody knows if they're actually fully reserved, where their reserves are capped, and they haven't done an audit. Yeah? So nobody knows. It's pretty much the business model is trust me, bro. Yeah? That's also why they have a rating of D from bluechip.org. I don't know if you're familiar with Bluechip. I recommend to look it up if you want to get an independent view on the safety of stablecoins. This is a rating agency, and you can look it up there and see how the different stablecoins do there, and it is not recommended by this rating agency to use Tether. All right, the second largest is Circle's USDC. It functions pretty similar to Tether. It is much smaller, also in terms of transaction volume, only half its market cap, and it's also fiat-backed, and it was founded 2018 by Centra. This is a joint venture between Circle and Coinbase, and to this very day, Coinbase is very involved in USDC. And you can also see here, by and large, the history is long, and the peg was maintained properly, so yeah, this is relatively stable. But, yeah, Circle is also regulated. This makes a huge difference compared to Tether. So they're regulated in the US by FinCEN and a couple of state regulators. They have reserves that are held transparently by regulated counterparties, custodians, and they perform audits. And they have like 80% in short-dated US Treasury notes and 20% in more liquid stuff like cash. Circle had a problem though, and this happened in March 2023. This was not due to a fault of their own, but due to a default of one of their banking partners. In March 2023, the Silicon Valley Bank went under, and with it, 3 billion of Circle's reserves that they kept at Silicon Valley Bank. And you see that with Circle, you might not have the risk of the issuer that much, but you still have the risk of the custodian, of the TradFi counterparties of Circle. And back then, the USDC dropped to like 85 cents a dollar, and this depegging was in place essentially as long until the Federal Reserve, so then the central bank stepped in and told everyone, hey, it's cool, we will bail you out, and we will honor the reserves that were lying around at Silicon Valley Bank. So the central bank had to step in essentially and save that stablecoin from depegging. Yeah? It still has a blue chip rating of B+. That means it's decent, it's regulated, it's audited. Ethena, that's the interesting one. That's a recent project. The market capitalization is already 13.74 billion, but the volume is pretty small because most of it is probably used in DeFi and in smart contracts. It was founded by Guy Yang in 2024. And here you can see the history, the price history of Ethena's USDE. And you can see it's also pretty stable, especially for a DeFi stablecoin. So far, no hiccups in the track record. How does it work? The business model is a bit different, but also pretty similar to the other stablecoin projects out there. You actually put collateral into a smart contract, but the smart contract is not non-custodial. So essentially, you give Guy some collateral, and he gives you USDE in return. And he does not buy treasury notes with it, but he hedges the Ether collateral that was sent in with an Ether short perpetual future to create a so-called delta neutral position. That means for every $100 that come in ETH, he opens $100 short, and then no matter what the price of ETH does, there is always $100 in the system. And the revenue generating mechanism is also different. This is funding fees, so these are fees that are paid out by crypto exchanges to, from the more popular side of a trade to the less popular side of the trade. So typically it's the longs that pay the shorts, and on average that's like 10% or so a year. So it's crypto native, that's awesome. It's semi-transparent because you can see what happens on chain, right? But it is still custodial and to some extent centralized. There is no blue chip rating yet for Ethena because the track record is not sufficiently long yet, but I believe once it comes out, it will be a decent rating actually. All right, MakerDAO DAI. They rebranded recently, but bear with me, let's still call them DAI and MakerDAO. They have a market capitalization of 5.3 billion, and they are the OG of DeFi stablecoins. The protocol was founded in 2015 by Rune Christensen, and you can see also here, it had some hiccups in the beginning, but by and large it kept the peg pretty well. How does DAI work? So DAI is created via an over-collateralized loan. That means that in order to create DAI, you have to send ideally Ether into a smart contract, and then you can take out a subset of the value that you have put in DAI and mint it. So an over-collateralized loan. Typically the collateralization ratio is 150%. That means if you want to mint 100 DAI, you have to send in $150 worth of ETH in a smart contract. For the privilege of doing this and borrowing against your own stack, you pay like 5% a year, okay? And of course, you also have to manage the liquidity of your own vault. That means that when you create a vault on MakerDAO and you mint DAI, you are subject to liquidation risk. If the price of Ether drops, then you would have to top up the collateral, otherwise your position could be liquidated. But DAI is over-collateralized and it is permissionless, so that's awesome already. All right, those were the big four. DAI does have a dirty little secret though, and this is the dirty little secret. Please tell me again how a DeFi stablecoin depegs when a bank goes under. And this is exactly what happened in March of 2023. If you see the curves here, the green and the blue curve, those are USDC and DAI, and both depegged in sync when Silicon Valley Bank went under. Now the question is, why is that? And the answer is, DAI is in the meantime 76% backed by USDC. So unfortunately, DAI is no longer an Ethereum-backed stablecoin, but it is a wrapper for USDC, and you get all the TradFi risks that you have with USDC also in DAI. All right, the blue chip rating inherited from USDC, I guess, is B+. So stablecoins have really come full circle, right? We have built, it's the killer use case of crypto. We have built crypto for financial sovereignty, for decentralization, for permissionlessness, transparency, all the nice things. So people want stablecoins, big use case, but how do they want the stablecoins? Centralized, opaque, and permissioned. And that's where we went wrong. And I think we can do better, and this is what I want to introduce now real quick. This is the project that I'm working on right now. This is a permissionless US dollar. And it's a dollar with on-chain proof of reserves in Ether. And it can be minted by everyone by simply sending collateral into a smart contract. That's pretty similar to MakerDAO's DAI. Only you don't have to manage it and you don't have to over-collateralize it. If you send $100 in the smart contract keeps your $100 in ETH, in staked ETH to be precise, and nobody else other than you can take it out again. And you can also redeem from the smart contract by sending 100 USPD there, and you would get $100 worth of ETH out of the smart contract. That whole process is decentralized, permissionless, and transparent, so nobody can interfere there. How does this work? Now, obviously, Ether changes, Ether's price changes, so that we might be in a situation that the staked ETH collateral that you brought in for minting is not sufficient, or that it is too much. So that there is a second actor in our system, and these are the so-called stabilizers. And anyone can, again, it's decentralized, operate such a stabilizer. And the stabilizers have one job only, and this is to over-collateralize the collateral on chain with their own money, and to hedge it, similar mechanism to Ethena, create a delta neutral position for the staked ETH that's on chain, that's kept on chain. And they do this with their own money. So for $100 that come in, a stabilizer deploys 50 of their own money, and they hedge it for you. You don't have to manage anything as stablecoin holder. And they are not doing this because they are a charity, but they actually make like 25% APY on the $50 that they contribute for stabilizing. So in a nutshell, again, Ether prices change. You brought in $100 in Ether collateral on chain. If Ether rises in price, the collateral gets worth more. You get excess collateral on the blockchain side, which the stabilizer can use to cover the short losses. And if the Ether price falls, it's the other way around. That's like really pretty simple mechanism to create a delta neutral position. All right, the big benefit for holders of USPD is it's a natively yielding coin because you get 3% staking rewards via staked ETH, natively rebased. That means without having to do anything with the stablecoin, you get 3% already. For the stabilizers, it's great because they make 10% annually from funding fees, and if they lever it up, as in my example, they make 25% per year. So this is also our business model. We will operate a stabilizer, basically. So again, the economics for every $100 that anyone mints, a stabilizer puts in 50 out of their own pocket, and the stabilizer gets to make 12.5 a year, 25% for stabilizing that coin. Now the big advantage is, the competitive edge here is it's your Swiss bank account in cyberspace. It has transparent reserves. You can just look at the smart contract address and see that it always has 125% or more collateral for all outstanding USPD. It's permissionless to and from ETH, native yield, we mentioned that. It is not freezable. This is also another big advantage. People think they own their stablecoins if they hold it with Tether or Circle, but these stablecoins are freezable on an address level. And it has zero exposure to banks and TradFi. Yeah? This is maybe the most beautiful advantage. All right, we went out of beta last week, so actually it's pretty new, yeah, and I'm happy to announce it here for the first time on stage in Sofia. And this is a little reward for all the Ethereans in the audience here. If you guys want to become early adopters, we're giving away until the end of the year $1,000 every day in ETH. Which we distribute evenly across all holders of USPD. And just FYI, at the moment we have 100K USPD minted. So at the moment, this is like 1% a day that we're giving away to holders for USPD. If you want to learn more, I think I can take a few questions here, but you can also meet me outside afterwards. Thanks for your attention.